Hello, everybody.
Oh my
Starting
God,
to
you're
feel
so
a little
sick.
bit better.
Poor girl.
I'm trying. Oh, all right. What do we got to talk about today? We got 2 new laws hitting us. One limits the security deposit to comparable to 1 month's rent, and the other one is going to implement civil fines and penalties in the event that we are lying about owner move-ins or things of that nature, major renovations, things of that nature. So if we're terminating tenancy for one of those reasons, that's going to be an issue. The other one is we can only ask for 1 month's rent going forward. As far as security deposits go, I believe that law takes effect on April 1st. Anybody have anything that they want to discuss? Something they need to talk about?
Hey, Patty.
Hello.
Hey, it's Erica from Roadrunner, San Bernardino County.
Gotcha. What can I do for you?
I need some advice on how to deny an applicant. She has no credit score, and then a guarantor that does live in the state did apply and has a credit score, but their income, they do not feel comfortable providing me with all of their income.
Unfortunately, your application is incomplete.
Thank you so much.
We don't accept incomplete applications.
Perfect.
Hit the easy button.
Patty, I have 2 quick questions.
Okay.
One is for West Hollywood. My friend just sent me something this morning that he got a rent increase starting February for 2.5%. Is that legit?
I can't answer that.
Yeah.
And here's me talking to you, okay? In some areas, they can only do a rent increase of 4% if it's under Larso City of LA or under City of LA guidelines. Just so you know, San Pedro falls under City of LA guidelines. Parts of Torrance fall under City of LA guidelines. Wilmington, San Fernando Valley, there's all kinds. So we actually have to look these up address by address to find out what the rules are. So in that particular one, here's me talking to you. They're telling you now they're going to do a rent increase starting February 1st because February 1st is the first time a rent increase is allowed.
Right.
My theory is don't even serve the notice until it's okay to do the increase. Because come on, you're serving them a notice while they're protected.
So serve it on February 1st with a March 1st start date.
Bingo. That's the best way I can keep you safe.
Okay. And then one last question is just a curiosity of, I'm trying to get my stuff together for the year end. Do you, when I store stuff, should I be storing it by year or by property?
I store all my stuff by property.
Okay, thank you.
It just makes it that much easier because when you go look for something, you know it's in that property box.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
So
okay.
I store everything by property address.
Okay.
Not by year.
And hold applications and whatever just for 4 years. Okay. Thank you.
Remember, the statute of limitations on a written contract is 4 years.
Okay.
On an oral agreement is 2 years. My theory is keep your documents for as long as the statute of limitations is in place.
Great, thank you. Feel better.
No problem. Thank you. I actually am starting to feel better. I don't feel like I'm just spinning my wheels anymore. I'm actually on the mend now. So voice is back, feeling better. I actually can make it through the day without taking a nap. All right, what else do we got?
It seems like you lost weight a lot.
I have. I've lost about 60 pounds in the last year. cut out carbs is how I did it, because I get a lot of questions about that. No carbs, no crackers, no bread, just protein and vegetables. And thank you for noticing. All right, anybody have anything that they want to talk about? Oh, I see stuff coming up on the thing. Yes, they have a form for the increase on their website. During September, it says during the period of September 1st and August of 2024. I think that's because the CPI changes then is why. One of my owners, 4-unit in La Habra, is needing the garages back. Currently in a 1-year lease. Are we able to evict or have any other suggestions? Nope. Technically, if they're in a lease, you can't touch them. You can talk to them about amending their lease or trying to make changes, but let's face it, that's theirs. Anything you do could be considered bait and switch, and you're going to have to, a reduction in services comes with a reduction in rent. If you don't reduce the rent when you reduce the services, you're exposing yourself to a lawsuit. The city of Los Angeles may say that the credit that you need to give a tenant for a garage is $15. Bullshit. If the tenant can't go rent a garage for $15, then that's not the price that you're going to credit them. If they can rent a garage for $150 or $200, that's how much you're going to credit their rent every month so you don't get sued. Make sense? So we want to make sure that we're disclosing that. Okay? If you do a reduction in services, you must do a reduction in rent. If you do not, they can sue you. You can do evictions based on substantial renovations at this time. Those rules are changing as AB 1482 adapts. So we need to be very cautious that we are doing major renovations, that the tenant will be out of the house for more than 90 days, etc. So there's new civil fines and penalties if we're caught lying about an owner move-in, a family member move-in, or even major renovations. So it is something that we need to be cautious about and make sure that we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's so that we don't get sued. Anybody got anything else?
Yes, I have 2 questions. One
You
is
got it.
the rent increase form in February when we submitted, is it the same as the one we used to have before, or something new has to be mentioned? That's number.
The 30-day notice for the 4% increase is all that's required.
Okay, and then the other question is that when a tenant requests additional parking space, what is, in your opinion, in San Bernardino, the amount that I should charge him? $50, $75, $100? What is the norm, would you say?
Why do they need additional parking spaces? Do they have unauthorized occupants?
No, it is legitimate. You know, the 2 of them moved. There's nothing bad about it. Just moving, but they need another parking space for the partner, and they have everything in front of me. So how much I should charge?
Parking in San Bernardino County and parking in LA County are not the same battle. So in San Bernardino County, I'd be more closer to the $50 range for charging them for parking for the month.
Yes, it's uncovered space. Some of them are covered. It should be the same price.
Yeah, I'd be at about $50 in San Bernardino. In LA, I'd be at about $250.
Thank you, Patty.
No problem. That was one question. You said you had 2.
The other one about the rent increase that you.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, perfect. Anybody have anything else?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, great, Patty. This is Marian Arsenault this morning. And I have 2 questions for you, real easy. I have 2 very difficult tenants in 2 separate buildings of mine. All the properties are located in the city of LA, so they are subject to RSO.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Thank you for telling me that. It helps tremendously.
Exactly. I have one tenant, okay, her her wall heater was emitting too much carbon monoxide. Okay. So I dealt with it swiftly. Soon as I was made aware, I contacted her. And as soon as I contacted her, I said, I'm going to go out and buy you a portable full unit heater until we get somebody out, because it requires that you have to file and request a permit, right? And before you can replace a hot water heater, a wall heater, you can't just do it. So I started off with a guy that I know and have been working with for quite some time. And yet he didn't get back to me right away. And after he had told me that he was going to file for the permit. So I wound up having to go with another guy, and I thought their price was exorbitant. So I decided to go with another referral. And I've been keeping her in the loop. But what she did immediately was contact the city on me as though I'm a bad person not doing anything. So she's obviously looking for a lawsuit right away. She was saying she wasn't feeling well, her head was hurting, but yet I have her on camera with quite the opposite displayed, okay? So constantly she called the gas company out, not once, not twice, but 3 times, 3 different reps, all on camera. And she browbeats everybody that comes there, and she's quite a bully. She intimidates every contractor. So I was told by the city representative, the code enforcement representative, that you have the right to tell her that to stay out of it. She wants, instead of her acting like a tenant, in all instances, she acts and pretends like she's the owner. And every single thing that happens, always telling me what I should do and shouldn't be doing, and just really what I would call a straight out nuisance, a complete nuisance. And what I'd like to do, and they have this other company that's willing to do it, but it was quite $15,000 is not what I'm going to do. Okay. So what I'd like to know, what do I do to protect myself in that instance? And when you're done with telling me on that one, I'll tell you what's happening on the other one, on the other building. Could you help me with that?
Yep. Are you sitting down?
Yes.
She doesn't owe rent until it's fixed.
Well, that's okay.
Okay. So when you tell her she doesn't owe rent until it's fixed, she's probably going to hinder the process of them fixing it right away so that she doesn't have to pay rent. Make sense?
She's already done that. In other words, the rent for this month is already paid. She's on Section 8. I forgot to mention that. So her rent is only like $400 out of the $1,140. Her rent should be $2,400. She's been there for 10 years. So she's only paying $400 out of $1,140 in the first place. So when you say she doesn't have to pay rent, Section 8 is going to automatically pay to my account. So you're saying her $400 she doesn't have to pay until it's corrected?
Bingo. And Section 8 doesn't have to pay you either until it's corrected.
Okay.
Legally, you can't collect rent when you have a habitability issue. And by you putting in space heaters doesn't rectify the problem under LA law.
Okay. Okay.
So with that being said, she gets a full rent credit until it's corrected. That may tone down her attitude a little bit. Make sense?
Yes and no, but if you knew this individual, you would totally disagree with this statement you just made. This is a person that
the second she hinders you from completing the process, she doesn't get a rent credit anymore.
Well, see, that's what she did in the very beginning. I had someone ready to go out. I went over there myself personally, and I had the person, I told her I had someone that was coming out the following day. She told me she was not going to let anyone in her home until she felt she was ready.
Then let her know that no rent credit will be issued because she's hindering the process of repairing the unit.
Well, she's allowed me to have someone come out subsequent to that. Okay. But
then give her the first one as a courtesy. If she does it again, let her know that the rent credit will stop immediately because she's no longer complying with the workman.
Okay. So, all right. So I'll deal with that on that level. Okay. As far as the rent not being paid, the $1,140 is not going to kill me. I would much rather have her disappear, meaning her to leave the apartment. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I hear you. I hear you. I'm saying for her to just leave if she's not happy with what I'm doing. But when you're trying to comply as a landlord and you are putting up roadblocks, then that means you just want trouble. You don't really want something to be taken care of. You just want trouble. So anyway, should I go ahead and give her that notice to say that your rent will not be due until this is completed? I mean, when you say completed, I mean completely completed? Okay. Because it's going to be like 3 steps to it. And it would be replacing the heater and then doing all the construction work. And the company that does the Havoc company, they don't do any construction work. They only replace the heater.
Correct. Usually they're looking for a licensed state B contractor to take the liability when it comes to that sort of thing.
Right.
So I'm with you.
Until I can't tell them, when it's going to be done, because I don't know when it's going to be done. You hear what I'm saying? They don't even when I ask them, how long does it take for you guys to get the permit? They can't even tell me. They said, we can apply, but we can't really tell you how long it's going to take to get it. So I'm doing everything I can. But like I said,
so I wouldn't be too quick to offer her that rent credit until we figure out exactly how much this is going to cost you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
If she starts acting like a jerk and you need to pull that out of your Felix's bag of tricks in order to offset that, then by all means do so, but hold it in your pocket until you're ready.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay. Then the second one is another issue.
Okay.
This tenant started out this way. So the whole intent was to try to, again, start a lawsuit. That's what it was all about from the beginning. I just didn't know. I was sitting behind the 8 ball. Okay. Didn't know. I did the background check, but of course, when these tenants are sophisticated enough, when they've had previous lawsuits, they have all of this stuff sealed. So you have no idea how to access the information.
Evictions have been sealed since 2017.
So there's nothing that you can do about it, right? Nothing. Okay.
No, my theory is we should start advertising evictions welcome, inquire within, because then at least they're honest to tell you that they've been evicted and you can actually talk to them about it.
Okay.
Everybody else is just an LLPOF. Do you know what that stands for?
No.
Liar, liar, pants on fire.
Okay. And you're absolutely correct. But
what do I know?
she's been there. This tenant has been in my unit now for 3 years. I have issued not less than 15 24-hour notices to enter. And to date, I have not been able to enter my unit.
This is City of LA?
City of LA.
I can't enforce unauthorized occupants or unauthorized pets. You can enforce unauthorized entry now. If they won't let you in, you can enforce that now in City of LA. Yes.
So I can go in with my key?
No, you're going to serve a written 24-hour notice to enter. If she doesn't let you in, you're going to try to serve another written 24-hour notice to enter. You're going to need 3 of those.
Okay.
And then you can do a curable breach of covenant notice and start the process to evict her if she still doesn't allow entry.
Okay, curable. Okay.
Yep. So you need to get on the phone with your legal counsel and tell them that you need to build a case on the drama using cure or quit notices for failure to allow entry.
Okay. So
you're probably going to have to serve 3 written 24-hour notices before they do the cure or quit. And it's up to your legal counsel to tell you how many cure or quits they're going to want before they actually do the quit notice.
Okay. Well,
it's going to be a lot of paperwork to get you there, baby, but it is possible is what I'm saying.
Thank you. Well, let me push
problem.
back over to the previous tenant I was talking to you about. That tenant, that regarding the wall heater, I had already done the property inspection in October, but my husband got sick and I was not able to get the letters out. So she might say, oh, I am harassing her, or either I am retaliating, but I'm not. Okay. But when I went into the unit, I will tell you these things. And I looked up the lease agreement. She has painted my whole unit without my permission. She's removed all of the ceiling fan lights without my permission. She's removed all the window coverings without my permission. She's taken all of the bath grab bars and removed those without my permission. She's actually replaced the window and all of the window coverings without my permission. She's put a 100-inch television set that has been mounted on my wall without my permission. And I could go on and on and on. I'd like to know, what can I do?
She's made modifications to the property without written consent of the landlord, also material breaches of her written contract and a reason for you to evict her.
Okay.
Again, you're gonna go back to the curable breach of covenant, and you're gonna have to tell her to put everything back the way that it was and give her the opportunity to fix it before you're gonna evict her for not fixing it.
Okay, it's so nice that you said that, because I served her the other day with that. I served her on Monday or Tuesday and gave her until Friday in order to make everything it was. And because that's one of the older buildings that has some of the nostalgic types of parts, they're expensive, you know, they're worth a lot of money.
Some of those buildings are very ornate in downtown LA, and some of that brickwork and some of the trim edges, they're irreplaceable. So for her to make modifications to the property without written consent of the landlord, she could be devaluing your building.
Exactly. Yeah, and I have no idea what kind of paint. So, and then, she also, with the bathtub and the kitchen sink, she also had them reglazed, again, without my permission. So I listed all of that, gave her the notice, and told her that I want it to be restored, and I'd like to know where are my things. I would like my things to be returned. And I gave it to Friday. So then from this point on, I don't want to handle it. I want to give it to the attorney.
You want to be talking to your legal counsel to tell you if you need to do another curable before you do the quit, blah, blah, blah. So you want to get in contact with your legal counsel to help direct you.
Okay. Now back to the other tenant that I started talking to you secondly. Now she has put a lot of things on my property, again, without my permission. It's not in my contract. She lied and said that I said that it was okay, and I told her no. When she asked me, could she bring this big, ginormous grill? And I said, only if it fits in your parking space, okay? And she did not adhere to that. She chained it to the to my what do you call it? The handle to the, it's attached to my property. I just put it that way. I have asked her several times in writing. There is an area that I paid a lot of money to have secured for the trash cans. She is the only tenant in the building that wants to put it up against my building, and I've told her to put it in the area in the back. I've told her to remove her ginormous plant and pottery from my property, and she has not done it. Said that I told her what she did. I said, show it to me in writing, because I know I didn't. Guess what she did? She grafted my signature from something I had signed and put it on another piece of paper that she.
Oh, that's fraud.
Exactly.
I would call the police.
Oh, I can do that.
That's fraud.
Okay.
Call the police. That's a crime.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Forgery and fraud is a crime in the state of California. So is utility theft.
Okay. Thank you.
No
okay,
problem.
So that's a fraud. Okay.
All right. Anybody else have anything they need help with today? Because I don't have a lot of information to give you. I could just tell you guys, watch out. Christmas is coming. For those of us that didn't get our rent this month, please know that you're more than likely going to get your rent for December in February when your tenant gets their income tax refund. They just go hand in hand together. Usually tenants don't pay December's rent. They let that slide, and then they make it up in February when they get their income tax refund. So if your tenant didn't pay the rent this month and you're trying to bend with them because they have kids, I get it. Make sure they pay next month's rent. If they don't pay next month's rent too, you need to attack, okay? Do not be sitting there waiting for them to come through. That's not what's happening in the industry across the board right now. Tenants are waiting for you to evict them. No joke, okay? I see a question, Anthony. Hang on, let me pull that up and I will be more than happy to answer it. To clarify, the owner is renovating his garage to become ADUs. I understand that, but if you are removing services from a tenant, you have to credit them or they can sue you. And if they're currently in a lease term, you can't touch them until that term is over.
So we can't.
Lease terms benefit tenants, not landlords.
Got it. So we can't evict them based on a substantial renovation?
If they're in a lease term, they're lease controls.
Got it. Okay.
You can attempt to buy them out of their lease if they agree to it, but that's it. That's all you got.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Anything else?
So Patty, are you saying when it comes to purchasing, buying them out of a lease, because mine is no longer a lease. It started off being a lease and now it's month to month. Okay.
Correct.
So-
You're on a month-to-month different set of facts. If you're
Okay.
in a lease term, you can't change the rules. You can't raise the rent. You can't take away services. You can't do anything while you're in that term. It protects the tenant for that time period. That's why leases are bad. Let me give you an example. Years ago, like 20 years ago, we used to have a problem with tenants moving into a property, staying there for just like a month or two, and then they'd buy their house and move out. We were finding ourselves flipping vacants like crazy. Okay.
Right.
So to stop the problem, we put them in at a 1-year contract to start. That stopped the problem.
Okay.
This hasn't been an issue for 20 years, but we still keep locking them into that 1-year contract. What we're doing is locking ourselves out from being able to change the rules. Landlords in general are turning away from the 1-year contracts and just starting people on a month-to-month, because after 30 days, guess what? You can change the rules. Okay.
Okay, I'm so glad you're saying that. So if this person started 10 years ago under Section 8 and I've never renewed the lease, is it still month to month?
Yes.
So I can change the rules now?
30-day notice to change of terms of tenancy to change the rules.
Okay, okay.
In some areas, they are very particular about what rules you can change. Larso is one of them. So you got to be careful with what you're changing.
Well, what is LARSO? I keep hearing people, I don't even know what LARSO is. What is that?
LA Rent Stabilization Organization, LARSO.
Okay.
So it's the city of Los Angeles, how you have to pay them and join their registry.
Right. That's what LARSO is.
Yes, and it's not just Larso anymore. Let me explain. The city of Inglewood does that. Pasadena does that. There's about 17 of them now that run just like the city of LA.
Okay, okay.
Garbage.
So, yeah, it is garbage. You're absolutely correct. So when it comes to the security deposit, her original security deposit of $800 from years ago, okay, from 10 years ago, am I able to increase that now? Or
Not
no?
over one month's rent as a security deposit is a maximum, is the new law that takes effect on January 1st.
So I cannot increase it by the amount of the rent. So if the rent is going up 4%, I can't go up 4% on the security deposit?
No, LARSO has an ordinance in their statute that says that the landlord cannot increase the security deposit from inception of the rental agreement. So from the time they move in, you can't ask for a higher security deposit under LARSO's rules and regulations.
Has it always been that way?
No, this is something that was newly adapted in the past 5 years.
Wow. Okay, good to know. Very good.
And now I'm seeing other cities implement that same rule, just so you know. So be careful, because there's some in DCBA that are doing it. That would be the 144 unincorporated cities within LA County.
And see, that's the reason you can't listen to all attorneys. Dennis Block, I'm calling his name out. Dennis Block had actually said to me personally on the phone that you can increase the security deposit. He said that's how they were getting some people out, is that they would increase the security deposit by the amount of the increase of the rent. And
Can I share with you?
Sure, absolutely.
He's right. And that's how we got some people out, is we raised that security deposit and because we couldn't raise the rent, and that's how we forced them out of the property. The problem is the programs are getting savvy to us landlords that think outside the box, and they're changing the rules as we create new ways to combat it.
But this was recently, but you're saying that changed 5 years ago, but this is recent. No?
You got to remember, a lot of weird things happened during COVID. So what I want to tell you is that rule changed during COVID. That's an easier way for me to say it.
I know, but now that COVID is ending and then we're starting something new come February 1st, I just thought that automatically, if you're increasing the rent by 4%, you can also increase the security deposit by the same amount.
In some cities, they are not allowing it, so that you're aware.
But this
See,
is
a lot of these cities that came up with their own garbage, if you will,
Yeah.
are more restrictive than the city of LA. Example, city of Pasadena relocation fees are $32,450.
Wow, wow, wow.
Why is it that way? Because there's 10 members on their board. 8 of them are tenants, 2 of them are landlords. We're outnumbered.
Exactly. Same thing with the city of LA. Out of the 11, it's 7 of them that are renters and only 4 of them are homeowners. Yeah, same thing.
78% of the state of California is tenant occupied. We are outnumbered.
But isn't that a conflict of interest for them to be on the council and they're renters and they're making decisions on their own behalf? Is that not self-serving?
Honey, hear me out. 80% of the tenants are, I'm sorry, 80% of the residents of our state are tenants.
Right. I understand.
We're the minority. No matter what, we're the minority. They're the majority.
So they set all the rules. That's what you're saying.
If you want to run for political office and you want to win, who do you make the rules for? The majority of voters?
Yeah.
It's all bureaucracy and bullshit.
Exactly. And I can agree with you more. Could not agree with you more. It seems like we're actually being squeezed out and forced out little by little. We're being forced out of
we're being tested. Yes, yeah. I would go with that statement. I have a property in the city of Los Angeles where I haven't received any rent since COVID hit. Wow. My tenant's on Section 8, so she's under the market threshold. I will never be able to serve her a 3-day notice.
Please explain that to me, how that works.
Market rent in LA City says that if you have a 2-bedroom unit, your tenant has to be behind in market rent before you can serve a 3-day. Market rent for LA City is $2,222. I specifically have a 4-bedroom. Market rent is $3,170. Only my tenant is on Section 8 housing, and her portion is $112 a month. Wait a minute. Does that mean by the end of the year, if she doesn't pay you, Patty, she only owes about $1,400, $1,500? Yes, that's what that means. But because she's under threshold rent, I can't serve her a 3-day. I can't do anything to her.
But Pat, you said she's under Section 8 too, didn't you?
Yes, she's under Section 8.
Well, let me tell you something that you may or may not be aware of. If they're under Section 8 and they say that they cannot afford to pay their portion, they're supposed to report to their advisor. And their advisor, and I've had that done, their advisor will pay the difference. They'll just do a change of terms, and they would pay all of what they can't pay.
The problem is this house is paid for. I inherited it. And the reality is I want her gone.
I understand. I understand.
So I'm looking for the loophole to get her out, nothing else.
Exactly. And that's what my point is. Like, if you want to get her out and she's not paying the rent, and nor has she been paying the rent since COVID started, you're saying that you're never going to be able to catch up and recoup that because it would take forever. Am I correct?
I can only go back 12 months on a 3-day notice to pay rent or quit. And because of LA City's threshold rent amount, she'll never be over that.
So she'll always be there. So you're locked in. You're saying you can't do anything.
Bingo. My option is to sell or pay her relocation fees. So at this point, I'm paying the taxes, I'm paying the insurance, and I set it off to the side burner because it's not costing me a fortune to keep this going. And what I'm doing is playing the charade at the expense of me and the city, but it's not really hurting me, just to see how it all plays out.
But Section 8 is continuing to pay you their portion.
Correct.
Well, that's
right. It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one to grab a hold of and keep account of. But it's also, I kind of want to hold the city's foot to the fire and the federal government of, hey, this isn't right, and you're enabling it.
Right.
So as nicely as I could say this, because the house is paid for and it's not costing me anything to keep the charade going, if you will, I'm keeping the charade going.
Yeah, because you just want her out, and that's what I wanted in my case too.
Right. We get to the point where we've had enough.
Right.
And the problem is we have all these anti-harassment laws in LA. So we have to be very cautious on what we do and don't do so that we're not exposing ourselves to something where they're going to sue us for harassment. But so far, I'm just playing the game to see how the city and or the federal government is going to help me, the little landlord that isn't getting paid.
Okay. So although this tenant that I had mentioned to you before, the fact that she has breached the contract in many of the cases is incurable, she can't restore it. So is that going to be considered the fact that she's wanting a new wall heater? And I don't have a problem with that. I just want to get the right person for the right price. Is that considered retaliation? Because
No, not at all. You've been
Okay.
doing everything within your power to get that fixed as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, the workmen aren't able to answer your questions with a timeline that makes sense.
Right, right, right. And
I
because
got you.
I've gotten, thank you, you really do, because I've had everything from $15,000 to $5,000 and $8,200. I just got that one last night.
And
So
you had mentioned to me that, somebody wanted $20,000 and when you weren't going to do that, thank you very much. What it did was it told me the story that you're actively shopping for the best price. And considering that you can only do a 4% increase, you got to be very careful on what repairs you do order.
Exactly. And why would I want to do her the favor of doing $20,000 worth of work? It's certainly not worth it to me, But yet,
Right,
you know what
right.
the city told me? That if
What?
I didn't do it, they would send their people out, and minimally to replace that, they would charge me $15,000 and they would attach it to my property.
They would make it as a lien.
Yeah.
So that has to do with REAP, and you don't want to get involved with REAP ever because the tenant then pays the rent to the city, not to you.
Right.
And you have to do all the repairs, but you're not getting any of the rent money. It's garbage. It's another way for them to steal your house out from under you.
Exactly. And that's what they've been doing for years now. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just waiting right now to get my last bid and last quote, and I just would like for them to commit. And they are so hesitant about wanting to commit. They don't want to say, "Oh, well, I can start Friday and I'm going to order the permit." Even when I had someone to make the commitment, he fell through. He said he couldn't get back to me because his phone fell in a bucket of water. So you see,
find a new contractor.
Exactly.
All right.
So, thank
Anthony, yeah, no problem. Anthony, you got a question. Are we able to ask for more for pets? I think you're asking about the security deposit increase law that changes. No, you're compromised to 1 month's rent as a maximum going forward starting next year. And that's it. We can't ask for additional deposit because they have poor credit. No, you can't do that anymore. Additional deposit because they have pets? No, not anymore. 1 month's rent is the maximum. Okay.
Is there any way to mitigate it? Was there any? That's it.
That's it. We're done. We're done here.
Wow.
What it says, I think, is if an independent landlord owns less than 2 doors, meaning they have the property they live in one rental, then they could be exempt from that new law and ask for a higher deposit. The problem that you're going to find is tenants are going to argue until they're blue in the face and probably try to sue you saying, no, that's not what the law says. Yes, it is what the law says. But a lot of tenants aren't going to like that news. Remember, they're advertising this on the news, you guys. Tenants already know this is what's happening. So us trying to be shisty or think outside of the box isn't going to happen. I mean, I've seen it on the news several times about the new laws for tenants for 2024. Speaking of Section 8 and LARSO, can we do rent increases for both portions? No, you cannot. You only get 1 rent increase a year and it's on the full amount of the rent and you're limited to 4%, I believe, in LARSO.
Patty, a couple of months ago, you mentioned something, and I can't remember the title of it, but when you've had substantially par rents. In other words, the rents are 2.5 times higher, according to the city as well as Section 8. And yet you've had a tenant that's been there forever, only paying this low amount. You said there were some ways in which you can request, and I can't remember what you called it.
Yeah, if you do, oh, Arlene, are you in here? Melanie's in here. I see that. Hang on. Arlene's really good at it. I'm trying to think of what it's called. I want to say it's for upgraded property or something, capital improvements or something like that. You may be able to charge an additional 2%, but that would have to be approved through the city. You can't just check that box, sign it, and serve that notice. It's got to be approved through the city.
No, that wasn't what it was called. That wasn't it at all. Because I'm familiar with that. That's the THP that you're
Yes,
talking about.
yes, it is.
That boat will fail.
Outside of that, I'm not aware of anything.
Okay. Might have been the other attorney then.
It's fine. So we can do rent increases and both motions, no. Okay. G. Jones, how are you? Any registration or permit needs for new rental in Compton? Compton is incorporated LA County, not unincorporated, and their city does not have their own registry at this point. So not that I'm aware of. I'd check with DCBA just to make sure, or type in the address just to make sure that in that stayhousedla.org, in that tenant-based website, so that you can find out what the rules are, and it'll let you know. So look it up there, stayhousedla.org. Can we still charge an application fee? Yes and no. Yes and no. You cannot charge an application fee if the person applying hands you a credits report that's been run in the past 90 days. Then you cannot charge them anything if they provide you with their own copy of their credit report. Then you cannot charge them. I highly suggest and strongly recommend that you spend your own money to run their credit report anyway, just to make sure they're not a LLPOF, liar, liar, pants on fire. In other words, you're comparing apples for apples, but it's going to be at your expense, not the tenant's expense. Understand?
What if they don't provide one?
Then you can charge them the application screening fee. But if you tell your tenant when they come to your applicant, it's $50 to run your credit, and they say, oh, I have my own credit report, then you say, okay, thank you. And you take that and you don't charge them. The big thing is that you don't charge them because they provided you a copy of their credit report. The problem is we don't know if they're lying, right? So with that being said, we want to run our own credit report and compare it with what they gave us, just to make sure they're telling the truth. And as far as background checks, yeah, you can still do quite a bit of them. There's some things that are protected, like felons in general are a protected class now. So we got to be careful with what we're screening on the back end. It is my experience that when a contractor won't honor their low bid, then it's too low or they're too busy. I give up on them and cross them off my list of service providers. I agree with you, Linda. A lot of times they give us a inexpensive price because they're hungry. And then they realize what they did and they change their mind and it's impossible to get them to commit. I get it. And then every once in a while you get that brand new person that really wants your business. So they give you a great deal with the very first thing and then they screw you over everywhere else. Just go do that great deal with the first client and then find a new company. It's a trick of us professional property managers.
So I don't know if you're aware of it or not, Patty, but in the last 48 hours, our dear Governor Newsom passed a bill that we can no longer make a credit report subject to us approving them or not. I don't know if you knew that or not. I read it first thing this morning. So we can no longer use a credit profile or pull credit to make a determination if you're going to accept it is against the law as of January or either July. I can't remember. It's either January or July.
I'll have to look at that and then advise you on my opinion. For the most part, I'm going to tell you guys to stick to your criteria for right now, because it's the one thing you have that saves your asset.
Exactly. When I
Stick
read
to
that,
your criteria.
yeah, I almost fell out of the bed.
Hey, girl, don't get me going.
I know.
All right. Anybody have anything else?
That's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I know. I'll
Yeah.
look into that and give you my opinion on what I see.
Okay.
They can't tell us that we can't run credit. There's
Yeah.
Gavin Newsom needs to hold the targets at the local shooting range. Just
Exactly.
saying.
Exactly. I agree. I totally agree.
Like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Right in front of himself. You got
Just
it.
like this.
I couldn't agree with you more. Really. So what I can do, and I'm going to ask you if you've done this before, every homeowner that is that handles Section 8 or take on Section 8, you have a portal. Okay, they changed the name of the portal recently. However, you can go into that portal and request a rent increase. Okay, it takes them normally 60 to 90 days before they render a decision. So
Correct.
now would be a good time for us to do it, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And then, Allie, I see you there. I know what you're asking. That doesn't apply to you, sweetheart. You're at 8.6%, I believe. What we're talking about is City of LA, not LA County. City of LA is only allowing a 4% rent increase starting February 1st, and they haven't done any rent increases throughout COVID.
Right.
So that's what we're discussing is about the City of LA, not your Lawndale property, which is incorporated LA County. And hold on, and I'll tell you really quick what your allowable increase is. I happen to know that her property's in Lawndale, you guys, so just bear with me. So LA County rent increases that take effect after August 1st of 2023 is 8.8%. So you could do 8.8% right now, Allie, 8.8. Okay, not a penny more. But that 4% does not apply to you. All right, you guys, I'm gonna call it a day, everybody. If you need me, you know how to hunt me down. I will be back next week. Everybody have a wonderful Christmas. All right.
Thank you.
A wonderful Christmas, and I hope that nobody gets sick. If you've already gotten the flu bug that's going around, consider yourself fortunate because we'll check that off the list and we won't take that into 2024 with us, okay?
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Merry
Bye.
Christmas.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you,
Patty.
everybody. Love all of you. Mwah. And
Bye.
we will definitely be back next Wednesday.
Feel better.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks. Bye.